Stories can be complicated things. Depending on how many locations there are, how many characters, both key and background, and how long the narrative takes place over, an awful lot can happen within one. Length can also depend on just how deeply you choose to dive into what story is shown on the surface. This is all to say that the reason this video has taken a little while is because there's a decent amount of hidden narrative beyond just the one installment of Little Red's transfer this video is named for. It's also why there's more than one video this time around, for the first time in a few years. Found footage is pretty much what I'd expected it to be before when I was given that sneak peek for my last video. This is a remake of the original Little Red's video that started it all. This is an employee training tape, worked on by Ivan Carpenter, with hidden editor notes from him dotted through it addressing someone else who was also working on the tape. However, unlike the original, it contains information on people that we previously hadn't known about until much later with the original series, which does fit the reboot's remixed nature. Also, this script will talk about two different authors, so I'll be trying to separate them by adding the surnames in places so you know which author I'm talking about. As always, I'll walk you through the video piece by piece, pointing out what we see and what I feel are important details, before then diving deeper into the rabbit hole of extra content hidden further in. I've had help examining one hidden video in particular from JT Plays on the Little Red's Discord, which I'm very grateful for because they've helped uncover details that I don't think I could have by myself. I'll also try to put how you can find these hidden videos and documents in the titles of the sections talking about them, as I once did with the similar sections with my Vessel of Notion video, if you'd like to be directed towards them yourself. Also, here is your content warning. Just as the start of found footage suggests, this video does contain some scenes that could be very upsetting for some people. Not to spoil anything major, but this video does confirm that Party 91st is still an incident that took place in the reboot timeline. If the idea of public shootings is not something you're comfortable with, maybe give this video a miss. Or just the part that'll deal with the worst of it. I'll put up a warning beforehand, as I try to with all of my videos. There's also a passing mention of a person concluding themselves, if you get my meaning. So, just what did happen at Little Red's? Where is Ivan Carpenter? And what does another key character have to do with it all? We're about to try and find out. So, if you're ready, then let's begin. We'll start with the description as it gives us some important details around the situation this tape was being worked on. It seems that in 2005, the year Little Reds would go under, Illusion Plus had decided to start a new initiative. This was aimed at trying to revive the brand after an infamous incident, the Party 91st shooting, which confirms that Party 91st does still exist in this new rebooted timeline. This initiative started up with the first phase of it involving gathering up as much surviving Little Red stuff as they could, and determining whether to destroy it or archive it for the future of the brand. This included things like props, old costumes, adverts, internal media, anything that was branded Little Reds. As part of this, many older tapes were set to be digitised in what became known by the employees as the Transfer Project, and somehow Arthur Mardrell's father seems to have ended up with many unfinished transfers from this in his possession. Arthur notes that this tape still contains editor notes from its editor, Ivan Carpenter, and that Ivan seemed to believe something was hidden in the tapes. Arthur himself has decided to be careful about saying anything for now, but knows that Ivan oddly doesn't seem to have been the first person to edit the tape. Crossing to the actual video now, it starts with a slow pan down across what looks to be a figurine of the Virgin Mary standing in front of a blue curtain, looking to be the sort of setup that a fairly religious family is going to have at home. Atop this is the age rating warning for the video, an R rating which warns of fairly heavy content to come. Playing in the background is the song Amazing Grace, which fits the scene we're seeing of the Virgin Mary. After a short excerpt of the song, it is suddenly cut off with the sound of someone pressing stop on a tape player, and then we hear a rewinding sound. Eventually it too stops and the scene changes to a new one, with the sound of a television playing in the background. We see the wall of a house with 3 picture frames hung on it, the central one being what appears to be a framed cross-stitch of some flowers. The other 2 though show 2 people, a young boy in the right hand frame and a young adult woman in the left hand one. We then begin to hear a conversation between the 2, in which we learn that the woman recently had a job interview, one she feels went well. She tells him that if she is successful he could be having the best birthday party in 4th grade, to which he tells her that he is in 5th grade and scolds her for always forgetting these things, in a way a child would. He also gives us a name for the woman, Haley. He then asks her what his favourite colour is, and she at first wearily protests while calling him Hayden, saying it's been a rough few months. We also hear the television beginning to play what sounds to be the advert from The Funked. Hayden insists Haley answer though, and Haley guesses yellow, to which he declares it's not. It's mustard yellow. Haley tells him that he doesn't even like mustard, to which Hayden agrees. Then after a pause he says he wants to see Little Red again. But during the point of the conversation in which Hayden is asking his favourite colour, we see the house wall scene crossfade into another. A shot of a giant billboard by a roadside from the police. It's asking for information on a crime with a $10,000 reward, and pictured on this billboard is another photo of Hayden that looks as if it might have been taken from the same photo session as the previous one we saw hanging on the wall of the house. This lets us know that Hayden ends up being killed somehow, that he was 11 years old at the time it happened, and his, and by extension Haley's, surname is Conway. As a quick aside for those who, like myself, aren't American, the 5th grade usually takes place for children from the ages of 10 to 11. Which means the conversation we're hearing between Haley and Hayden here is one that takes place merely months, maybe even weeks, before Hayden loses his life. The video then changes to the part of the video we were given a peek at before, but slightly different. Firstly, the grey screen that began the footage now has white text on top of it. On December 30th, 2005, 19-year-old Ivan Carpenter was reported missing. He was last seen entering the Illusion Plus Entertainment building at 4:45 PM and never exiting. This was after his public intrigue of the Party 91st case. His desk computer vanished along with him. We then get to see the shots of the DVD case with the text telling us about how it is an unfinished transfer, same as before with the same VHS noises in the background. But while the sneak peek had "Welcome to Little Reds" on it, the video proper we instead get the title of Little Reds Transfer 1, Found Footage. As the unfinished training tape transfer plays, we see the same Sonya Creations logo appear on screen, but as it hangs there, a blue backed caption appears on top of the logo and seems to be addressing the viewer, asking, "Are you watching?" The rest of the clip then goes as we saw it before, showing the logo for Illusion Plus, then the logo for the amusement centre before it zooms out of the 3D model and shows us the same DVD menu of Play Feature, Scene Selection, Setup, and Language. Eventually, after some movement of options, the Play Feature option is selected and the point of view zooms back into the door of the 3D model to play the training tape. The tape starts with a splash noise and the logo of the amusement centre is shown atop a background of blue water. We see under the logo that it is proudly presented by both Hilm and Illusion Plus, and as bubbles flow past the screen, the narration begins calling the amusement centre an all-in-one family amusement centre. The logo then moves to the bottom left corner of the screen with a blue banner at the bottom, while some footage taken from the 1985 advert plays. The narration goes on to praise the amusement centre as being a magical place, and asks what makes the place so special, as we see a hand on a telescopic limb move past some cartoony representations of first the amusement centre building, Little Red reclining on his side, and finally a sundae glass of the frozen custard. The narration addresses the employees who are meant to be watching this tape by telling them that they are who make the amusement centre special, showing a blank name tag for the amusement centre, which the video lingers on for quite a while, though I can't seem to find anything by upping contrast or anything of the like. The limb then retracts and we see that it belongs to the faceless blue-suited man who has been a staple image of Little Red since the original series. The man introduces himself as Guide Guy, with the name appearing on screen in cursive font, and tells the viewers that as Little Red Scout members, They are responsible for keeping the place running and bringing smiles to the customers. He then assures them that after the training tape, they'll be well suited to doing the job and doing it well. The tape then goes into its first major section titled "Glad You're Here," with a smaller subtitle of "Wayfinding." The video then shows us Guide Guy's extendo hand again hitting a lift button, and we get to see an early 3D era model of the rough building shape of the Wavedon Mall fly onto the screen. It settles, and Guide Guy tells us that the amusement centre takes up 3 stories of the mall, as some more pieces slot into place on the model to the right. Noticeably, this is the first point where we can tell some kind of edit or cut has been made, as there is a slight sound jump between the words "the" and "mall."
The Little Red's amusement center takes up a total of 3 stories of the mall.
We then get to learn what each floor is used for. The first, or ground floor, is the event center, and we see a sign listing the attractions of the Scout Star Coaster, the Woodland Auditorium, H&T Arcade, Ojak Fun Gym, the Big Bad Lanes, and the Fun Days Ahead gift shop. The floor above that is the Eatery Center, with the sign listing Hansel and Gretel Waterworks, Little Red's Diner, Goldilocks Pizza, Gally's Kitchen, Orange Julia's, and Hot Sam's Pretzels. Finally, the basement floor is known as Floor A, though the sign on the camera shows it as the A floor, and contains the Scout Star Party Room rental, Sonia Creation Studio, and administration, which consists of the offices and other admin rooms that Illusion Plus would need. We then get a quick sum up of each floor, with relevant visuals showing what is being spoken of. Of note is a logo for Sonia Creation consisting of 3 cartoonish characters, a cat, dog, and egg, with the slogan, "We make friends." Just after that, we get a peek of a half-dressed animatronic Lox in a room we can guess is part of Sonia Creation's part of the floor, a scene we later come back to in the video. The video then switches to a few slowly moving shots over a graphic showing a photo of a suited man holding the hand of a short cartoon Little Red, with both stood by the edge of a lovely looking lake or ocean, another bit of land with grass, trees and rocks visible over the other side of the water. As part of What a Wonderful World plays, we were informed that this man is Harmon Manchak, the creator of Little Red and the CEO and founder of Illusion Plus Entertainment as a whole. He is described by the narration as a wonder, and can be seen wearing the exact same colours of suit and tie as Guide Guy does, which suggests that Guide Guy might be based upon Harmon himself. The video then shifts a little abruptly to a room with a projector which begins showing slides to go with the narration, which is slightly muffled. It begins with a fairly horror film themed slide marked "Beware the Wolfman" with a stereotypical wolf howl, to tell the tale of a local story from 1950 in Fairfax County, West Virginia. The Wolfman was said to lure people under a bridge before attacking them with a hatchet. Harmon decided to reinvent the story, making a Wolfman costume to wear to the county fair. There he scared children who would cut lines for rides and hand out coupons for ice cream to those who behaved. The idea was popular in the community and eventually led Harmon to open the first Little Red's frozen custard, with a redesigned Wolfman as the mascot, the titular Little Red, who took his name from the old fairy tale. Over time, through other media such as advertisements and toys, more characters began to join the roster. We are told that the person who was behind many of these designs was Harmon's own son, Arthur Manchak. During this part, we see the photo of a very young looking man, one who couldn't have been too far out of adolescence. We also get a sneaky nod to the Harmony and Horror series from the Lox boxed toy we get to see. Before the part where Arthur Manchak is introduced though, we get another blue on-screen caption which asks us to "Please look." Another piece of footage is then cut into the video. A point of view shot from inside a pink walled room with some light reflecting off from an unseen light source, possibly a window, with a fan running up high and graphics of both Gally and Little Red's faces on the walls. We can also see some bar stools stacked up further into the room, a pennant on the wall which is blue with red text, and a small shelf with what appears to be a few cans of paint. As we sit there, we hear what sounds like a young child or baby crying echoing in the distance alongside the usual sounds of the outdoors. Eventually we hear another sound, possibly a deep voice or one possibly robotic. It sounds twice, and then as the cries seem to grow a little more desperate, we hear it a third time, building up to a near roar before the footage abruptly cuts to the DVD's scene selection menu. A balloon floats past before the second section is selected and plays. Titled Work Hard, Play Harder, with a subtitle of Do's and Don'ts, Guide Guy returns on screen and informs us that Scout Star cast members have a list of rules and requirements they must follow on the job. After this we get our second noticeable cut with the word rules being trimmed out of the next sentence as Guide Guy informs us that they're in place so the most can be made of each special day at the amusement centre.
As a Scout Star cast member, there are many rules and regulations you must follow. These rules are placed in order to make them.
We then get presented with Guide Guy's cast member contraption, yes that's how it's spelled, which shows us a cartoon man as a prospective new cast member. Guide Guy first talks about having a good attitude because you're meant to be working in a fun place, and we see the man going to something called the Attituner, which is made to be round and friendly looking, and the man emerges standing up straighter. Next, Guide Guy talks about cleanliness, and the man moves into another thing called the Clean-O-Matic, which is also shaped to be round and friendly looking as bubbles also move past the screen. This time the man emerges looking pretty much the same, if maybe a bit cleaner. Finally, Guide Guy talks about staying in character, or in this case, your uniform. This time the man moves into something called the Uniformer, which also looks very friendly looking, but this time when it moves past the machine, the man does not emerge, although Guide Guy continues his narration as if he has. We then go back to Guide Guy as he reminds us that the most important part of the uniform is a smile, but this echoes as the image changes to a 3D representation of the man now caught up and writhing in what appears to be a grinder. Then we get our first confirmed piece of blue editor text that we can confirm was written by Ivan, the first backhauls, if that term is still used in the reboot. Missing segment here, don't mind it for now. Whenever you get this, I may still be at the office. I'm hoping you recover soon, but I'm not sure what you thought would happen after jumping from a frat house roof. My phone's still missing, hint why I'm talking to you here, and you rarely check your email, which you definitely should start doing, especially with this new project. Speaking of which, to answer your question from earlier, basically Alan gathered some of us in the boardroom and tossed some more tapes at us. Give us a few weeks to transfer them, and lucky for you, I'll do most of the work with this one. All I need you to do is to comb through and send them to him. Anyways, while I'm going through this, I'm starting to see some strange things. Not just ordinary distortion or glitching either, like footage that isn't supposed to be here. I'm not quite understanding it, but I'll write something down if I see more and try and draw your attention to it. Ive. Although most of it is visible, a chunk near the star is blanked out with only the words typical and lol being able to be made out. This then leads into the third section of the tape, Where Do You Belong, with the subtitle Assignment. It starts with a shot inside what appears to be some sort of back area of the building, with various items scattered around including mannequins, desks and other large furniture. We see a grated window with a large Guide Guy peering in, and a little red graphic to his left. Strangely, the music also quietens as if coming from the other side of this window. The shot changes a few times, showing a desk with what appears to be a model of part of the amusement centre, before switching to a shot showing a number of little red things including a lunchbox, a poster, and an undressed animatronic covered with a translucent covering. The narration seems to suggest that they're looking for something, and as they seem to find it, a person crosses over the shot, bringing into view a figurine version of Guide Guy, or possibly Harmon, that resembles the Fallout Boy character. We then focus on this figurine spinning on screen on a blue background with white little red text on it, as Guide Guy asks the viewer what they think their strong suit is. They list off customer service, entertainment, vending, and engineering as options for opportunities at Little Reds. Guide Guy then says after a few surveys that they will be able to place the new cast member where they best fit. Then the tape is once again cut into, showing the point of view of what sounds to be a scared child looking at an attraction called Humming Humpty's Playhouse, with the titular character's face looming over the sign. Another sign to the left lets us know that this attraction has been closed to the public, and we can see the 3 characters Sonia Creations logo just underneath. We hear the child, a boy, sobbing that he doesn't know what's happening, that they just started shooting and now he can't find anyone. We then see him entering into the closed attraction, passing through a number of areas typical of indoor play areas, although the darkness of the area makes it hard to determine much detail. He cries and says that he can't find his mother and that he can't go back. He goes deeper in and eventually comes across what seems to be a small pool or water feature with a giant statue of Humming Humpty, who looks very sinister in the semi-darkness as he looms over the child. Regardless, the boy approaches it, skirting around it to head towards the slides to the left before the footage switches back to the training tapes. The 4th section of the tape is titled Don't Kill the Magic, with the subtitle The Back Halls. This part talks about the back corridors in Wavedon Mall, the method by which cast members and other employees of the amusement centre get around. We see footage of some fairly plain looking corridors which we can guess are the corridors being spoken about, as well as a sign saying, "I'd rather be at Little Red," with a simple cartoon locks design on it that seems to be rigged to move about as if dancing. During this first part, we can hear that the background music seems to be distorting a tiny bit, but no more than you might expect from an old 80s VHS tape showing age. We also get told that the back corridors link to the employee sections such as the parking garage, the floor A rooms, employee break areas and locker rooms, as well as the office of the hiring manager and supervisor, to which a man in a suit is shown seated at a desk. The viewers are informed to keep an eye out for maps to help them navigate, and we see a CGI maze with Little Red's CGI back halls recreation in the bottom left corner, which a Little Red ducks into. Guide Guy then emphasises that consumers are not to enter the corridors at any point, telling the viewer that they should be locked to prevent entry when not in use, and that each employee will be provided a key for this use. We then return to the Sonia creation room with the half-dressed animatronic locks we saw earlier, and Guide Guy begins to have a conversation with them. The robot answers and then notices the viewers while asking about how the onboarding is going. Guide Guy asks what Locks thinks is the best part of Little Red's, to which the bear answers the food. Guide Guy agrees that they have a lot of options, but states that he believes the best thing is Locks, that is, the robotic entertainers Little Red's has to offer. Locke says that he and his pals are great, then the footage goes static as we distantly hear Locke start to ask, "Wonder how we..." The static continues a bit longer before the tape resumes halfway through one of Guide Guy's sentences as he talks about how the animatronics work. Robots moved through air compression. As Guide Guy talks about combining the motion with a voice actor, we see the Sonia Creation logo pop up again along with text saying if the watcher is curious about characters, they can learn more in the Sonia Creation Make a Friend guided feature. Guide Guy says that they'll cover the animatronic performers later, saying that they're something they can compete with. But again we hear what might be a missing word as the red of Little Red is missing or muffled out.
Discuss later, but they are one really cool feature that Little can compete with.
As he again asks Locks for input, the footage is cut into with different footage once more. This time it is a shot placed in a corridor themed for Little Red, possibly one of the back corridors we've heard about. The two most prominent details are a cardboard cutout of Guide Guy with a speech bubble saying, "This could be you," indicating a Cast Member of the Month display, which is currently filled with a photo of a young woman with a name on top reading Alice Manchak. We see a blue caption on screen again reading another one, this one from 1990? We then hear a conversation between two people, Haley and Arthur Manchak. This seems to be the job interview we heard Haley mention going to right at the start of this YouTube video. During this conversation, we learn a number of things. Arthur had the nickname of Little Manchak. Haley is trying out for an engineering position, specifically for the entertainment installations. Haley apparently has a knack for machinery. The Conway parents are out of the picture, having gone on a mission trip a few years ago and never returned. Haley has been trying to support herself and her younger brother ever since, which she uses to justify saying she's good with children, and that the man upstairs would say no to having a woman be an engineer. Arthur, however, offers to schedule whatever position she gets there as a long closing shift so she can tinker in the green room, an offer Haley seems all too glad to accept. Also during this footage, as Haley tells Arthur that she might surprise him, there is a brief glitch, although nothing seems to change. Directly after this is another long back halls entry from Ivan, or possibly other editors aligned with him. See, that other section is from some point in 1990, I can tell by in 1988. And if this tape takes place in 1985, you get the point. Why would footage from 1990 be in an 80s trading tape? I did some asking around the office to see if anyone knew anything about a Haley Conway. Got nothing, but Alice sure did look as if she'd seen a ghost. I'll check online. Update. Okay, so from what I'm seeing on an older forum site, Haley Conway was a former LRAC cast member who ended her own life after her contributions to a massacre that took place, titled Party 91st, at the amusement centre. She's become some sort of urban legend, but when I search for Little Red's Party 91st, the only thing that comes up is Little Red's 91st anniversary party. Not to jump the gun, but isn't that a coincidence? Like the company covered something up by dirtying up the search terms. I'll ask Alice tomorrow about what all she knows about it. This shows us that Ivan, or whoever has written this, is beginning to get curious about the strange footage, and have stumbled upon a mystery from Little Red's past as a result. We see that Ivan seems to have not known about the Party 91st incident, and that Haley had something to do with the massacre that took place, although details are hard to find. We also have mention of an Alice, and this is likely to be Alice Manchak, the woman we saw in the 1990 footage as cast member of the month, and likely to be another part of Harmon's family. It seems that as of 2005, she is still working at Illusion Plus Entertainment. After this, the 7th section of the video starts, titled Red Card, with a subtitle of Health and Safety. Guide Guy reappears and talks to the viewer about how safety is an important aspect of how things work at Little Red, especially the safety of employees. He then mentions the Scout Rules, a method by which to remember the health and safety rules. We then get to see a little red puppet who is used to communicate what each letter stands for, although the transition between the two scenes is also very abrupt. The background music for the new scene is also very distorted and discordant. In order we have Stay Vigilant, Comply, Observe, Understanding, and Tell. During Observe though, as the puppet is listing little tasks that a cast member should be aware of, the music is shut off and the puppet sags as we hear them ask, "Wait, is that door unlocked?" And we see real life footage overlaid over the background of someone in a corridor peering through an open doorway. The tape then resumes as if nothing had happened, with some static around the end of the section, only for another of Ivan's back halls to be inserted in the midst of Understanding. Eric, it isn't just me. Tonya came in today, all frantic, claiming she saw something in her tape. A party of some sort, but there was something wrong. Sound familiar? She didn't give me the most detailed description, but she said once she got home she'd send me the unaltered copy. I'll send it to you too so you can see. All I got is that there was confetti, the footage seemed to be from the 80s or 90s, and there was a lot of screaming. And that's not it. I talked to Alice about it, and she looked at me like I spoke Russian in China. She said to cut out all segments that might be too damaged, and to move on to the next, and when I tried to show her what I've been seeing, she refused and rushed out the office. There's something seriously wrong here. There's one last segment that I can't quite see or make out at the end. It's super loud. Hopefully by the time I send this to you, it'll be easier to digest. Then, when Tell starts, we see the first scream with what the letter stands for, but when it returns to the puppet, it is completely limp. After this, it goes back to Guide Guy, who says, "That's right, Little Red," with a slight vocal glitch as the distorted music continues. Then there are a few seconds of pause before the Little Red puppet is overlaid over the scene. Snippets of movement and sound playing. It seems to be conveying a message to the viewer, which could either be "You are not the one" or "You unlocked the one." Both have been heard by different people. We then get another Ivan message. "Hey Eric, TGIF. Things are only getting weirder. I miss you. I've been a mess as of late, spent more time in this office than my bed, but I'm so intrigued. Met up with Tonya and Jesse the other night, and we made some discoveries. Get this, Haley Conway wasn't just at Party 91st, it was her younger brother's birthday, Hayden Conway. We're still not understanding why though, and why was this all hidden? Alan and Alice aren't too keen on us digging around. Rumour has it they're thinking of canning the transfer project entirely. I just need one more night." We're thrown back to the scene selection menu once more, and quickly select the 6th and final section of the tape, titled "Put It in Park," with the subtitle of "Punching In." The music now is very distorted and strange, and as we see the sign pointing towards the employee parking garage, we see another blue caption appear on screen: "Turn it off." The tape continues showing a scene of someone handing over money or tickets to a parking attendant, and the colours begin to invert as the blue caption is replaced by another: "I don't want you to watch anymore." The scene goes to static as Guide Guy's narration continues, getting muddier and muddier. Then we see what the final clip Ivan was speaking of seems to have been. The shot is of a point of view of someone running through an open door marked "Employees Only" and turning the corner into a corridor as what sounds like a distorted yell sound. Then, after a little black, we get a clearer picture of someone bursting through another door marked "Come Back Soon" into a large car parking area as screams, yells and car alarms sound around them. They run forward, but a door ahead of them slams open and a figure enters with a rifle, beginning to spray the area with bullets. The camera turns and runs, and we see a figure in a red shirt slumped against a wall before the point of view we're following also falls. And we get one glimpse of another figure underneath the red car in front as the pop-up from before about the DVD undergoing analog to digital conversion shows up. This lingers for a little bit, but the scene behind it still moves, albeit very slowly. It then finally cuts back one last time to the scene selection menu. Then we get the credits, which, alongside listing all the people who helped make this video, we get the full names of all the characters we've heard of, including a few who were only mentioned by their first name so far. Ivan Carpenter, Tonya Cassidy, Jesse Rowe, Eric Love, Alian Rutnick, and of course, Alice Manchak. Now, having watched the main video, it's time to start diving into the extra content we have, beginning with a video linked in the description of this video.